Time to talk Samford Bulldogs. Chris Hatcher, the eighth-year head coach of the Bulldogs. Guy who knows the Southern Conference. We were just talking about the fact that 3 years at Georgia Southern, so nearly a dozen years coaching in the league. You know this conference, what it was back when some other schools were in it, what it is now. Something that Samford's got known for is, boy, just delivering the offense and the excitement there. You went from Devlin Hodges as a great quarterback, then you moved down a few years. Liam Welch has now moved on. He had a great career, great season last year. So let's begin at quarterback. It's always an exciting position for your team. Michael Hires has played at Murray State and Northwest Mississippi Community College before coming to you, and Nick Scalzo comes to you from Kentucky. I guess those guys have been battling there.
Well, those are the two guys that coming out of spring ball really separated themselves from everyone else. Of course, both of those guys I recruited out of high school, so I know them extremely well, and they picked up the offense. Really, for me, I thought quicker than most quarterbacks I've ever had. So this will be a great battle going into camp. Who knows? It was really tight coming out of the spring practice, but somebody has some big shoes to fill, and hopefully they'll do it well.
Liam Welch was tops in the league and one of the best in the nation, over 350 yards a game passing. You guys throw it around. In your offensive backfield, Jay Stanton led you with just under 500 yards rushing. Jaquette Giles comes back there. Because of some of the personnel changes at quarterback, are you thinking some different things this year to maybe balance it out more? Can your offense dictate that? What's been that conversation with the staff?
Well, first of all, Jay does a tremendous job for us. He's a very productive runner for us, does a great job of catching the ball out of the backfield, really good blocker. Again, at the end of the day, we just try to get touches to as many people as we possibly can. A lot of those passing numbers, when you sit here and talk about, are you going to run the ball more, are you going to do this more, a lot of them are just extension or just little quick screens out there that we're trying to get it to playmakers to bypass all those big defensive linemen.
A pass play that's basically a running play, but on the boundary.
Well, that's right.
Yeah.
And but Jay's got to have a good year for us this year. When he runs the ball well, our offense is usually pretty explosive. So we're excited about him. And then Jaquette Giles is a guy that's kind of played a few snaps here or there. Hopefully he'll come on this year and be a quality backup for us.
You had one of the most exciting players in recent seasons, I think, in all of college football. Montrell Washington just did it all as a receiver. You got him a lot of touches and in special teams. So now Ty King at a receiver, Kendall Washington, Chandler Smith, I guess those are the ones you'll look to and could be the ones who take up some of that responsibility? I
think, first of all, it's hard to replace a guy like Montrell Washington. I know you'll ask it later on, but as far as returnability skills,
yeah.
You could play him at running back. You get him the ball in jet, so you just had to get the ball in his hands.
Yeah.
So we lost a lot of production there. But the guys with the most, as you mentioned, the most returning touches and playing time are those three guys. And we're going to rely on them an awful lot because we got some inexperienced receivers behind them that I think are good.
Yeah.
But, with our schedule open up versus Kennesaw State and the University of Georgia game 1 and 2, we got to come out of the gates ready to roll.
You're going to see among the best the state of Georgia has to offer.
No doubt about it.
Right down I-20. I think it's an important point that shouldn't be lost. 5 starting offensive linemen return, and that speaks well, especially in the system you run.
Well, it does, and these guys work really good together. We felt comfortable. All of our backups are back. So they're a cohesive group, and Coach Sean Bostic's our offensive line coach, and this is year 23 as a head football coach for me, and we've been together 23 years. So we got a good feel for one another, and he does a fabulous job with those guys.
On the defensive side, I see a Samford team, stats-wise, you weren't where you want to be. Now you've got a new coordinator coming in, Chris Boone, and I think a lot of new guys on his staff. So what are some of the philosophies Chris Boone's going to bring to the table on that side of the ball?
Well, Chris and I have known each other for a long time. He was the defensive line coach for a year or two under Coach Sullivan, and he's been the defense coordinator at Jacksonville State, Murray, UT Martin, you name it. He's been all around the SoCon. And the OVC. So he's brought a different type of discipline and toughness to our defense, and I could tell that the day he walked in the building. So I really feel good about that side of the ball. We signed a lot of transfers to fill some holes because we lost a lot of players on that side of the ball, and getting yards at practice has been very difficult against that group. So hopefully with the guys that we just reported during camp, we put helmets on. Hopefully they'll make us, and we can be a formidable defense this season.
a key returnee, though. Nathan East, second in the league in tackles per game. He's really good player, one of those linebackers you always see around the football. You've got some others around him.
Yeah, Heath he's a versatile player for us. He can play out there in space. He can play in the box. He's a big, strong guy, and so we're excited about him. He runs exceptionally well. And then on the defensive line, you got Seth Simmer coming back and a guy named Tay Berry that have taken a lot of snaps for us. So we're looking forward to those guys kind of leading the way for a defensive unit that's going to have a lot of new faces, and hopefully they'll gel very quickly.
It looks like in the secondary is where you'll have many of those new faces. You had a guy, safety, Chris Edmonds. He moved on to Arizona State, but I know some of those new faces will have to contribute. Who are some of those guys in the secondary?
Well, your guess is as good as mine
it's
right
that
now.
Wide open. It's that wide open.
It really is. We moved some guys around. Torrance Pollard, who was a backup wide receiver that played for us. I've actually backed up Montrell Washington. We actually moved him to corner just out of necessity in the spring so we could practice, and lo and behold, he did a really good job. So right now he's going to be starting at one of the corners for us. But I think we signed some really quality players through the high school ranks and the transfer portal that is going to give us a huge boost back there in the back end.
Good place kicker coming back, Zach Williams. Bradley Porcelato has been around for a long time punting for you. I think you're in good hands in your kicking game, but again, Montrell Washington was so dynamic for you. Did a lot for you like what Corey Bridey does for VMI. He just gave you that chance every time on a kickoff or when the ball was kicked to do something.
Well, there's no question. And of course, he was fifth-round draft choice by the Denver Broncos, and the majority of that was just because of his special teams productivity. I mean, they love that, and I think that's what's going to take him, let him excel at the next level. But it's hard to replace a guy with that much production. We may have to do it by committee. But you're right. He was an electrifying football player.
You guys have been the stars of the close game, for lack of a better term, in recent seasons. You played a bunch of them. So last year, 5 losses by 7 points and less or in overtime. Flip the script on a few of those, it's a much different story, both overall and in the SoCon. Is that a conversation among coaching staffs, or does a head coach on just a quiet night in the off season, if ever there are any, just kind of think about what can we do just to make a couple of plays, or maybe it's in the second quarter where we can rectify some of the stuff that haunts us in the fourth quarter? What's some of the mindset there?
Well, I wish I had a really good answer. That's kind of been our MO the past couple years. I mean, you go back every year we have this conversation. It's like, Hatch, man, if you had to kick this field goal or stopped them right here, you'd been the conference champions. And we've been extremely close. I think a little bit of it just been some bad luck. And, I think that our coaches and players have done really well to keep us close in some games that maybe we, probably shouldn't even have been that close in. And then there's some that, we should have found a way to win. But I think it's you're going to have some success. You're going to have some success early this year in some close games to gain that confidence you need to know that you can close it out. And I'm a big believer in this football team this upcoming season.
And I think, again, with the cookbook you've got offensively, you guys are always going to be interesting to watch. Your offense is going to keep in a bunch of games. You led the league last year in scoring at nearly 40 points a game. I have a feeling you'll be able to plug those pieces in. Just a matter of closing the deal on defense. That could be the big story.
Well, there's no question. And you never really know how everybody else is going to be when it's all said and done. And the bottom line is try to find a way to win games and put your guys in the best position to do that. That's what this summer camp is coming up for us, and we need to find that out quickly because we're not easing into this season by any stretch of the imagination.
Absolutely. Well, as Coach Hatcher mentioned, it starts out with some tough foes beginning on Thursday, September 1st, against the Owls of Kennesaw State. That'll be a real test, an FCS playoff team a year ago. Chris Hatcher, head coach of the Samford Bulldogs. They're going to be an exciting team, no doubt. Maybe they'll make a run toward a league championship.